My brother snatched my girlfriend and the business concept I shared in trust, then launched it completely without me. Can you imagine losing everything, your love, your life's work, to the two people you trusted most in this world, only to have them crawl back months later, begging for a second chance? This isn't just a story of betrayal, it's a masterclass in how not to burn every bridge with family. Just a few months ago, my world felt solid, built on years of dedication and a trust one thought was unbreakable. Now, it's about rebuilding, piece by painstaking piece, in an office that's finally mine, not theirs. My name's Ethan. I'm 28, and I've dedicated the last decade of my life to the hospitality industry. I started right out of college, a front desk clerk at a small boutique hotel, then steadily climbed the ranks. Assistant manager, then operations manager at a mid-sized resort 3 years ago. The pay was good, the hours could be brutal, but I learned every single facet of guest experience from the ground up. I built my career on understanding people, anticipating needs, and solving problems. Then there's my younger brother, Noah. He's 25. Noah was always the family charmer, the golden boy. Good-looking, smooth-talking, the kind of guy who could convince anyone of anything. He got a business administration degree, decent grades, then spent the next few years bouncing from one job to another. Nothing ever stuck. He'd get bored, quit, blame, bad management, a cycle our parents always excused. He's finding himself, they'd say, or he's too creative for corporate structure. Me. I just saw a guy who didn't want to do actual work. And then there was Chloe. We met 4 years ago at a charity fundraiser my resort was hosting. She was volunteering, I was coordinating, and we instantly clicked. She was beautiful, witty, ambitious, a dental hygienist with her own condo, totally had her life together. We dated for 3.5 years, and honestly, I thought she was the one. I was planning to propose. The ring was picked out, the deposit paid, all the preparations were done. Just waiting for the perfect moment. Noah and Chloe first met at a family barbecue, about 2 years into our relationship. They got along fine. No red flags, nothing that sparked any suspicion. She found him funny, he thought she was cool. Just normal, friendly family dynamics. I actually appreciated that they were friendly, it made family gatherings so much easier. Little did I know, the joke was on me for being a normal person, for trusting the people closest to me without a second thought. Roughly 8 months ago, an idea sparked. Years in hospitality had shown me a huge gap in the market. Sure, short-term rental management services were out there, but none truly spoke to what I called the overwhelmed owner segment. Think people who'd bought investment properties or inherited vacation homes, but had absolutely no clue how to manage them as rentals. They didn't want to deal with Airbnb, but a traditional property management company was too expensive, too impersonal. My concept was simple, yet precise, a boutique property management service focused exclusively on residential vacation rentals in our specific region. We'd cover everything, from professional photography and listing optimization, to guest communication, cleaning coordination, and maintenance. But here's the game changer, we'd offer tiered packages. Owners could choose exactly how much involvement they wanted. Some just needed help with listings, others wanted full, white-glove service. Nobody else was approaching it like this. I'd poured months into this idea. Spreadsheets, competitor research, meticulously mapped out pricing, even created mock-ups for how the service would operate. I'd even landed on a name, Keystone Vacation Management. This whole concept was my baby. I'd stay up late after brutal workdays, refining the business plan, calculating startup costs, figuring out the entire tech stack. The only problem? I needed help. Running a resort full-time didn't leave me the bandwidth to launch a side business on my own. I needed a partner, someone I could trust, someone with a business mind who could handle the administrative side while I leveraged my industry connections to build the client base. And naturally, stupidly, my mind went to my brother. I know. It sounds idiotic now, but hear me out. At the time, it made sense. Noah had that business degree he wasn't using. He'd been griping about wanting to be his own boss. We were family. I genuinely believed giving him this opportunity would be good for him, good for us, good for our relationship. I pictured us building something truly significant together, brothers, running a successful company. One Saturday afternoon in March, Noah came over to my place. Chloe was visiting her parents for the weekend, so it was just us. We ordered some takeout. I opened my laptop, and I showed him everything. And I mean, every single detail. The complete business plan, financial projections, target market analysis, the whole 9 yards. I walked him through exactly how Keystone would operate, what made it unique, why I believed it would absolutely succeed. Noah's eyes actually lit up as I explained it all. He asked all the right questions, took notes on his phone, seemed genuinely, truly excited. We talked for hours about how we'd structure the partnership, how we'd split responsibilities and profits, what our first-year timeline would look like. By the end of the night, we shook hands. He was in. We agreed to officially begin planning the launch in May, right after I finished coordinating a massive corporate retreat at the resort. Before he left, he looked at me and said something that really stuck. He said, "Thank you for trusting me with this. I won't let you down." I actually got a little emotional. Here we were, two brothers, about to build something incredible together. It felt so right. Over the next few weeks, Noah and I texted constantly about Keystone. He'd send me ideas for marketing angles, I'd share contacts I thought we could approach. Chloe knew about it too, I told her the same night I pitched Noah. She thought it was a brilliant idea and was excited for both of us. Everything felt like it was finally coming together. Then, things started getting weird. In late April, Noah became less responsive. Our daily texts dwindled to him taking days to reply. When I'd ask about the business planning, he'd give vague answers like, working on some stuff or thinking through logistics. I figured he was just busy, or maybe getting cold feet about the huge commitment of starting a business. It's scary, I get it. So, I gave him space. Around the same time, Chloe started acting differently, too. Nothing major at first, just subtle shifts. She was on her phone more than usual. Started picking up extra shifts at work. We'd make plans, and she'd cancel last minute, claiming something came up. When we did hang out, she seemed distracted, like her mind was a million miles away. I should have connected the dots. Looking back, all the signs were screaming at me. But I trusted them. Both of them. So, instead of being suspicious, I just convinced myself everyone was going through their own thing. Noah was probably stressed about the business. Chloe was just busy with work. I was the problem, right? Too focused on my own life to notice what was unfolding right in front of my face. Memorial Day weekend. That's when everything shattered. Chloe was supposed to come to a family cookout at my parents' house. That morning, she texted, claiming she felt sick, needed to rest. I was disappointed, of course, but told her to feel better and I'd check in later. I headed to my parents' place, helped my dad grill, hung out with relatives. Just a standard family gathering. Noah didn't show up either. He texted the family group chat, saying he had business meetings and couldn't make it, on a holiday. My mom bought it. My dad, ever the optimist, thought it was entrepreneurial of him. I just thought it was weird, but let it go. I left my parents' house around 6 p.m. and decided to surprise Chloe with soup from her favorite deli. I'd texted her a couple of times throughout the day, and she'd responded, still feeling rough, just resting. I figured showing up with food would be a thoughtful gesture. Her condo was about 15 minutes from my parents' place. I stopped at the deli, grabbed the soup and some bread, then drove over. I let myself in with my key. The lights were off. I called out her name. No response. Figured she was sleeping. I walked toward her bedroom to check on her. The door was slightly cracked. I pushed it open wider, and there they were. Noah and Chloe. In her bed. Clothes strewn on the floor. Completely naked. They didn't even notice me at first. Too busy with each other. I just stood there, an absolute idiot, holding a bag of soup, my brain struggling to process what my eyes were seeing. Chloe saw me first. She shrieked, fumbling for a sheet. Noah spun around, and the look on his face wasn't apologetic. It was more, annoyed. Like I'd just interrupted something profoundly important. How dare I use my own key to check on my supposedly sick girlfriend? I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't make a scene. I just stood there for what felt like an eternity, though it was probably only 10 seconds. I carefully placed the soup on her dresser. "Keep it," I said, my voice eerily calm. "You both clearly need the energy." Then I turned, walked out, got into my car, and drove home. I sat on my couch, staring at the wall for the rest of the night. My phone exploded with texts and calls from both of them. I didn't answer. Didn't read them. Just sat there in complete, suffocating silence. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and God knows how many unread texts. I finally forced myself to scroll through them. Chloe's messages were the classic cheater's greatest hits, "It just happened. I didn't mean for this. Please let me explain. It's not what it looked like." Right. Because two naked people tangled in bed together could be interpreted in so many other ways. Noah's texts were somehow even worse. No real apology. Mostly just him saying we needed to talk like adults, and that things got complicated. Complicated. That's what he called deliberately sleeping with his brother's girlfriend. Complicated. I responded to Chloe first. "We're done. Don't contact me again." And blocked her immediately. To Noah, I simply sent, "You're dead to me." Then blocked him too. What else was I supposed to do? Sit at home and stew in how the two people I trusted most in the world had utterly betrayed me? No, thank you. I buried myself in my job. Worked longer hours, picked up extra shifts. I became the guy who was always at the resort, always available, always working. It was either that, or completely fall apart. And I was not going to fall apart over people who clearly didn't value me. My parents called, naturally, trying to mediate. My mom, especially, kept pushing for me to hear them out and work through this as a family. I told her I had nothing to say to Noah, and nothing to work through. My dad was more understanding, but still tried the "he's your brother" guilt trip. It didn't work. I only showed up to family events when absolutely necessary, and always left early. If Noah was there, I simply didn't acknowledge his existence. June passed in a blur of room inspections, staff meetings, and endless guest complaints. July brought its usual surge of summer tourism. I'd thrown myself so deeply into work that I'd almost completely forgotten about the business idea. My days started at 6 a.m. and didn't end until well past dinner. The resort became my entire world. Home was just where I slept for 5 hours before doing it all over again. Then, one day in mid-July, a former colleague from another resort sent me a screenshot. It was a Facebook ad for a new company called, wait for it, Keystone Vacation Management. My Keystone. My exact name. My concept. My entire life's work. I stared at my phone screen, frozen, for what felt like an eternity. The ad copy used phrases I'd written in my business plan, word for word. Not paraphrased, not reimagined. Just stolen. The service packages were structured exactly how I designed them, the 3-tier system with bronze, silver, and gold options. The target market was identical to my research, property owners within 50 miles of the Lake District who needed professional, yet personalized, management. The logo was different, at least. Noah had apparently paid someone on Fiverr to slap together a generic key icon with some mountains in the background. Real original. But everything else? That was mine. The tagline was my tagline. The value proposition was my value proposition. Even the FAQ section on their landing page answered questions in the exact same order I'd outlined in my planning document. And who was listed as the founder? Noah. Just Noah. No mention of partners, no credit to anyone else. My brother had taken my complete business plan and launched it himself. Then had the sheer audacity to plaster his face all over the website as the sole visionary behind it all. I sat at my desk, staring at that screenshot, for I don't know how long, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. Time just stopped mattering as my brain processed the sheer magnitude of this betrayal. This wasn't just stealing my girlfriend. This wasn't just a rash mistake or a moment of weakness. This was premeditated theft. This was taking months of my work, my meticulous research, my hard-earned expertise, and claiming it as his own. The worst part? He'd had the business plan this entire time. All those weeks he was being distant, vague, with his working on some stuff excuses. He wasn't getting cold feet. He was planning to launch without me. Every single text where he said he was working on some stuff. He was literally working on my stuff, figuring out how to execute my plan without cutting me in. The audacity of it was almost impressive. Almost. He didn't even try to hide it. Didn't change the name. Didn't modify the concept. Just took everything I'd shared with him in confidence and used it for himself. I started digging. First, the obvious, their website. At first glance, it looked professional enough. Clean layout, decent color scheme, plenty of stock photography of happy, vacationing families. But the deeper I looked, the more cracks appeared in the facade. The copy was riddled with typos, not just one or two, but like someone had written it at 2 a.m. and never bothered to proofread. Experience instead of experience, accommodations instead of accommodation. Basic stuff any halfway competent business owner would catch. Their photo gallery. Entirely stock images. None of them even showed properties in our region. One photo was clearly of a beachfront property with palm trees. We don't have palm trees anywhere near here, we have pine forests and mountain lakes. Did he seriously think no one would notice? The pricing structure was there, but some of the details just didn't make sense. It was like he'd copied my framework without understanding any of the reasoning behind it. My bronze tier was designed for owners who just needed listing optimization and guest screening. Noah's bronze tier promised all that plus professional photography and cleaning coordination for the exact same price point I'd calculated for just the basics. The numbers didn't add up. He was either dramatically undercharging and would lose money on every client, or he was planning to cut corners in ways that would obliterate service quality. I clicked through to their About Us page. There he was, Noah, in a professional headshot that was clearly from his college graduation, talking about his passion for hospitality and years of experience in property management. Years of experience. The dude had never worked a single day in hospitality in his life. His longest job had been 3 months at a car dealership, which he quit because his boss didn't respect his ideas. The testimonial section was the cherry on top of this disaster Sunday. 3 glowing reviews, all posted within days of each other, all suspiciously vague and generic. Keystone changed my life. Best property management company ever. Highly recommend. No specific details, no mention of actual services rendered. Just the kind of fake reviews you write when you're desperate to look legitimate. Then I found his social media. The Keystone Instagram account had been created in early June, right after Memorial Day weekend, right after I caught him with Chloe. The timing wasn't a coincidence. He'd been planning this for weeks, maybe even longer. Every post was try-hard, corporate inspirational garbage. Photos of sunrises with quotes about chasing dreams and building empires. Behind-the-scenes shots of Noah at a desk with a laptop, looking thoughtful and entrepreneurial. The comments were turned off, probably because he knew he couldn't handle the criticism he so richly deserved. And there she was. Chloe. In multiple photos on his personal Instagram. The caption on one from early June read, "Celebrating new beginnings with my partner in crime." They were holding a champagne bottle in the photo. The comments were full of friends congratulating them on their new venture. People who had no idea what they'd done to me. People who thought this was just a cute couple starting a business together. The betrayal had layers. Another photo from late June showed them at what looked like a networking event. Noah was wearing an ill-fitting suit he'd probably borrowed, and Chloe was dressed up, playing the supportive girlfriend role. The caption talked about growing our vision and connecting with the community. My vision. My community of contacts that I'd spent a decade building relationships with. They weren't even trying to be subtle. They'd destroyed my relationship, stolen my business plan, and were now publicly celebrating it like they'd accomplished something worth celebrating. The confidence it took to be that shameless was almost impressive. Almost. My first instinct was pure, unadulterated rage. White hot, seared, want to break things rage. I wanted to call him, scream until my throat was raw, threaten legal action that would bury him. I drafted about 15 different texts, each one telling him exactly what I thought of him and his pathetic attempt at entrepreneurship. I even looked up intellectual property lawyers. I considered posting my own version of what really happened on social media, exposing them both to the world. But then, I took a deep breath. And I actually thought it through. What would any of that truly accomplish? A lawsuit would be expensive, time-consuming, and messy beyond belief. Public callouts on social media would just make me look bitter and vindictive. Screaming at Noah would give him the satisfaction of knowing he'd genuinely gotten under my skin. Then, a realization dawned on me, something that made me smile for the first time in weeks: he had no earthly idea what he was doing. Like, fundamentally, at a basic operational level, Noah was completely unqualified to run a property management company. See, my business plan wasn't just a document full of good ideas, it was the culmination of 10 years of hands-on hospitality experience. Every system I'd outlined, every process I'd detailed, every contingency plan I'd included, all of that came from actually living through those scenarios. I knew how to handle a burst pipe at 3 a.m. because I'd done it a dozen times. I knew how to smooth over an angry guest who found their rental dirty because I'd mastered that conversation through years of practice. I knew which contractors were reliable and which would ghost you during peak season because I'd worked with all of them, personally. Noah had the blueprint, yes. But he didn't have the critical foundation of knowledge that made the blueprint work. He'd stolen the recipe, but he didn't know how to cook. And in the hospitality industry, that kind of inexperience doesn't just mean bad reviews, it means catastrophic operational failures that compound on each other until the whole operation collapses. So, I made a decision. I wasn't going to interfere. I wasn't going to sabotage him. I wasn't going to send angry messages or warn his clients or post negative reviews. I was just going to wait. And watch him fail. Because he would fail. It was inevitable. And honestly, watching his sheer incompetence destroy the business he'd stolen from me would be infinitely more satisfying than anything I could actively do to him. And I was absolutely right. The first cracks in Noah's flimsy facade started appearing in August. I joined a local property management Facebook group, just to discreetly keep tabs on industry chatter, using a throwaway account so no one could connect it to me. Someone posted, asking if anyone had experience with Keystone. The responses? Not kind. One property owner wrote a detailed post about how Keystone had promised 24-hour emergency response, but it took 2 full days to address a broken refrigerator during a guest's week-long stay. The guests had to throw away all their groceries, and the owner ended up comping the entire rental just to avoid a nightmare review. When the owner complained to Noah, his response was apparently to blame the contractor for being slow. Never mind that any competent property manager has backup contractors for exactly this reason. Another owner complained about the professional photography they'd paid extra for. According to her post, someone showed up with a smartphone, took about 15 photos in less than 20 minutes, didn't move any furniture, didn't stage anything, didn't even open the blinds to let in natural light. The resulting photos were dark, poorly composed, and made her beautifully renovated cabin look like a dingy basement apartment. When she asked for a reshoot, she was told there would be an additional fee because the first shoot had already been completed, per contract. A third complaint detailed a double-booking nightmare. Somehow, Keystone had listed the same property on both Airbnb and VRBO without syncing the calendars. Two different families showed up on the same Saturday, expecting to check into the same house. One family had driven 6 hours with kids in the car, the other had flown in from out of state. Noah's solution. He told both families to work it out among yourselves, or he could try to find them alternative accommodations, but couldn't guarantee anything. The owner ended up having to personally handle the situation, refund both bookings, and pay out of pocket to put one family up in a hotel for the weekend. These weren't just minor hiccups. These were fundamental operational failures that would never happen if someone with actual hospitality experience was running things. I'd dealt with every single one of these scenarios during my career. They all had straightforward, industry-standard solutions. But Noah didn't know the industry. He just knew how to copy someone else's business plan. September brought even more drama. By this point, the Facebook group had multiple threads dedicated solely to Keystone's failures. Someone even created a running joke about Keystone moments, sharing their latest disaster story about the company. The stories got progressively worse: missed maintenance issues that spiraled into expensive emergencies, abysmal communication leaving guests locked out of properties, listings with so many inaccurate details that guests were threatening legal action. My personal favorite was the story about a family who booked what was advertised as a luxury lakefront retreat with modern amenities. What they got was a property where half the light bulbs were burned out, the Wi-Fi password was wrong, the hot water heater was broken, and the lakefront view was technically accurate, but required walking through a marshy area and climbing over a small hill. The listing photos had been taken from such creative angles that it made it look like the lake was right outside the back door. The family posted their photos versus the listing photos online. It went semi-viral in local social media groups. Noah tried damage control, offering a partial refund and claiming it was an honest mistake with the photos, but the damage was done. Screenshots of the comparison were shared hundreds of times. People started calling Keystone the expectation versus reality company. By October, the negative reviews were piling up on Google and Yelp. Noah tried to respond to each one with corporate speak about taking feedback seriously and implementing improvements, but you could tell he was drowning. The complaints kept coming. Some owners were demanding refunds. Others were just warning people away from the service entirely. I didn't leave reviews. I didn't spread rumors. I didn't have to. Noah was doing all the damage himself by being fundamentally unqualified to run a hospitality business. November was when things truly fell apart. A friend who works in commercial real estate told me Keystone's office space, yes, Noah had rented an actual office space, was empty, totally cleared out. I checked their website and social media. Both dead. The last post was in early November, stating they were restructuring for the new year. Restructuring, sure, Noah. That's what we call shutting down a failed business. He'd lasted 6 months. 6 months of burning through whatever startup money he'd scraped together, destroying his reputation in the industry, and proving exactly why you don't steal someone else's carefully researched business plan if you have no idea how to execute it. I should have felt completely vindicated, and I did, a little. But mostly, I just felt tired. Tired of being angry, tired of constantly thinking about the betrayal. I desperately wanted to move forward with my life, not stay stuck in this endless loop of bitterness. So, in December, I finally decided to do what I should have done back in May. I launched Keystone Vacation Management, the real version. My version. I'd spent the last 6 months watching Noah make every single mistake I knew to avoid. I'd seen exactly what not to do. Now, I knew I could do it right. I registered a new LLC, built a truly professional website, invested in proper photography equipment and training. Most importantly, I leveraged my decade of connections in the hospitality industry to secure my first 5 clients before I even officially launched. My approach was fundamentally different from Noah's failed attempt, in every way that truly mattered. I started small, focusing on quality over quantity. Each property received a customized service plan based on the owner's actual needs. I invested in professional photography because I knew how crucial first impressions were. I cultivated relationships with local maintenance contractors I'd worked with for years. I created detailed standard operating procedures for every imaginable scenario because, well, I'd lived through every scenario in my years at the resort. By the end of December, I had 8 properties under management. By mid-January, I had 15. Word of mouth in the property owner community spread fast, especially after Noah's spectacular failure had left a lot of people desperately searching for competent alternatives. Every single client I brought on either had a personal horror story about Keystone's first, failed iteration, or knew someone who did. February brought my first real big test. One of my properties had a pipe burst during a sudden cold snap, while guests were checked in. I got the call at 11 p.m. on a Thursday night. I had a licensed plumber on site within 30 minutes, moved the guests to a comparable property I managed nearby at no extra charge, had the damage repaired within 48 hours, and gave the guests a partial refund for the inconvenience. That's the kind of crisis management that comes from years of experience dealing with operational emergencies. The owner was so impressed, she referred 3 of her friends who also owned vacation rentals. By the end of February, I was managing 22 properties and had to hire my first employee, a part-time administrative assistant to help with scheduling and guest communication. March. That's when things got really interesting. I was at my desk one evening, reviewing the monthly financials. Keystone had officially become profitable in month 3, mind you, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but some morbid curiosity made me pick up. Ethan, it's Noah. I should have hung up immediately. But that curiosity, that morbid pull, wouldn't let me. I hadn't spoken to him in 10 months. Hadn't seen him since Memorial Day. Hadn't acknowledged his existence beyond the vague awareness that we were technically related. What do you want? My voice was flat, devoid of any emotion I might have once felt for him. I need to talk to you. Can we meet somewhere? No, please, just hear me out. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I need your help. The sheer, absolute audacity. You need my help. You stole my girlfriend, stole my business idea, launched it without me, crashed it in 6 months, and now you need my help. I made mistakes. I know that. I'm sorry. I'm really, truly sorry. I wasn't thinking clearly. Things with Chloe just happened, and the business thing was stupid, and I should have included you. Things with Chloe didn't just happen. I cut him off, my voice still level, dangerously calm. You made a choice. You made multiple choices. And stealing my business wasn't a mistake. It was calculated theft. I know. You're right. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm in a really bad place right now. The business failed. I'm broke. I owe people money. My credit is trashed. And Chloe. He trailed off. I waited. The silence stretched, thick and heavy. Chloe left me, he finally admitted. 2 weeks after we shut down Keystone. Said she couldn't be with someone who was such a failure. She's seeing some dentist she works with now. They're engaged. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The karma was just too perfect. So, let me get this straight. You betrayed me, stole my business, failed miserably, lost all your money, and the girl you betrayed me for left you for someone else. And now you're calling me because, why, exactly? Because you're my brother, he pleaded. Because I need help getting back on my feet. Because I heard you launched Keystone and it's actually working. And maybe you could give me a job, or let me buy back in, or, no, Ethan, please. I'm desperate. I don't have anywhere else to turn. You made your choices, Noah. Every single one of them. You chose to sleep with my girlfriend. You chose to steal my business. You chose to cut me out and launch it without me. Now, you get to live with those choices. I'll do anything. I'll work for free. I'll be your assistant. I'll clean properties. Whatever you need. Just please, help me. The thing about people who betray you. They always come back when they need something. They never come back to actually make amends. They come back because their other options ran out. Here's what's going to happen, I said, keeping my voice utterly level. You're going to hang up this phone. You're going to figure out your own life, and you are never going to contact me again. We're not brothers anymore. That relationship died the moment you decided your girlfriend and her brother's business idea were worth more than your integrity. Ethan, I'm serious, Noah. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't show up at my place. We're done. Permanently. I hung up before he could respond, blocked the number, sat back in my chair, and waited for the rush of satisfaction to hit. It didn't come. I just felt empty. But also, free. Like cutting that final, festering tie had finally released me from something I'd been carrying around for months. 2 weeks later, Chloe showed up at my office. Keystone had grown enough that I'd rented a small, professional office suite downtown. Nothing fancy, just a clean space where I could meet with clients and have a proper home base for operations. I was in the middle of a video call with a property owner when my assistant knocked on the door, looking uncomfortable. "There's someone here to see you," she whispered, her eyes wide. "Says it's personal." I told her you were busy, but, she won't leave. I wrapped up the call, then told my assistant to send her in. Chloe walked through the door, looking exactly the same as I remembered. Beautiful, put together, professional. She also looked nervous, which was a new expression on her. "Hi, Ethan. You have 5 minutes. Make it count." She sat down across from my desk, fidgeting with her purse strap. "I wanted to talk to you. To apologize properly. To explain." "There's nothing to explain. You cheated on me with my brother. Pretty straightforward." "It wasn't like that. It happened so fast. Noah and I were texting about the business, and we started talking more, and feelings developed, and, stop." I held up a hand. "I don't care about the timeline of your affair. What do you actually want?" She took a deep, shaky breath. "I heard Noah called you. Asked for help. News travels fast, I guess. He told me you said no, that you blocked him. I understand why you're angry with him, but Ethan, he's really struggling. He needs help." This was unbelievable. "And you're here to advocate for my brother? The same brother you left 2 months ago for another man? The same one you're not even with anymore?" "I know how it looks," she said, her voice softer. "But despite everything that happened between us, I still care about you both. I hate seeing him struggle. I thought maybe if I talked to you, let me stop you right there." My voice was firm. "You don't get to care about me anymore. You gave up that right when you decided to sleep with Noah. And you definitely don't get to show up at my place of business, asking me to help him. Neither of you has any claim on my sympathy, my help, or my time. But, he's your brother. Biology doesn't mean anything when someone proves they don't value the relationship. Noah chose himself over me. You chose yourself over me. Now, you both get to deal with the consequences without expecting me to fix it for you." Her eyes welled up with tears. The old me would have felt guilty, would have softened, would have at least pretended to consider what she was asking. The new me just felt tired. Tired of everyone expecting me to be the emotional caretaker for people who had hurt me so deeply. "I made a mistake," she said quietly. "We both did. We hurt you, and we're sorry. Doesn't that count for anything? You want credit for apologizing after you got everything you deserved? You left me for Noah. Fine. He launched a business that failed. Fine. You left him for another guy. Fine. Those are all natural consequences of the choices you made. I'm not going to rescue either of you from the reality you created. What about forgiveness? What about second chances? Forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. I can forgive you both for what you did, eventually. But that doesn't mean I owe you my help, my friendship, or my presence in your lives. You both burned that bridge to the ground. There's no rebuilding it." She stood up slowly, realizing this wasn't going the way she'd hoped. "I really am sorry, Ethan, for all of it. I hope someday you can see that. Your apology is noted. My answer is still no. To whatever you were going to ask next. Whatever favor you thought you could convince me to grant, the answer is no. Now, please leave. I have actual work to do." She left without another word. I watched her walk out of my office, out of my building, and hopefully, out of my life for good. My assistant appeared in the doorway, looking concerned. "You okay, boss?" "Yeah," I said, surprised to find it was true. "I actually really am." The next few weeks were quiet. No calls from Noah. No surprise visits from Chloe. No more family members trying to mediate, just me running my business, building my life back up, piece by painstaking piece. Keystone continued its steady growth. By April, I had 35 properties under management and had hired 2 more employees, a dedicated cleaning coordinator and a maintenance liaison. By May, I was already looking at expanding into the neighboring county. The business I'd always dreamed of building was actually happening, and it was succeeding because I knew what I was doing. My parents eventually brought up Noah. I told them everything. All of it. The girlfriend theft, the business betrayal, his complete lack of remorse until he desperately needed something from me. My dad actually apologized, said he hadn't realized how truly bad it had gotten. My mom took longer to come around, still stuck in that "but he's your brother" mentality. But even she eventually admitted that what Noah did was utterly inexcusable. I didn't hate them anymore. Not Noah, not Chloe. Hate requires too much energy, too much emotional investment. They were just people who made selfish choices and now had to live with them. Their struggles weren't my responsibility. Their redemption wasn't my project. Sometimes, people ask me if I regret not giving Noah a second chance. If I wish I'd helped him when he asked. The answer is simple, no. Not even a little bit. Noah didn't want a second chance to make things right with me. He wanted a bailout from the consequences of his own actions. There's a massive difference. A real second chance would have started with him taking full accountability without expecting anything from me. It would have been him figuring out his own path forward, rebuilding his own life, and proving through consistent action over time that he'd actually changed. Instead, he called me because he was broke and desperate, seeing me as a solution to problems he created for himself. That's not remorse. That's opportunism. Same with Chloe. She didn't show up to make amends. She showed up to recruit me into saving someone who had helped destroy our relationship. Neither of them actually cared about the hurt they caused. They just cared about what I could do for them now that their plans had fallen apart. The thing about revenge is that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. I didn't have to sabotage Noah's business, he did that himself, through sheer incompetence. I didn't have to wish bad things on Chloe, her own choices led her exactly where she ended up. All I had to do was protect my peace, build my business the right way, and refuse to let their chaos back into my life. Today, Keystone Vacation Management is approaching its first anniversary under my leadership. We're managing 52 properties across 2 counties. I've got a team of 5 employees who are competent, reliable, and actually understand hospitality. We've even got a waiting list of property owners who want to work with us. My calendar is fully booked 3 months out. The business I dreamed of building is now exceeding my own expectations. And I did it without Noah. Without Chloe. Without anyone who proved they didn't deserve to be part of my success. I'm not going to pretend I don't think about them sometimes. You don't just erase years of a relationship overnight. But when I do think about them, it's not with anger or hurt anymore. It's more like recalling a movie I watched once, something that happened, had an impact, and then ended. They are characters from a previous chapter of my life that's closed now. My parents still want me to reconcile with Noah eventually. They believe family should stick together through anything. I disagree. Family is earned through loyalty and respect, not just shared DNA. Noah stopped being my family when he chose to betray me in the worst possible way. Blood might be thicker than water, but trust is thicker than blood. As for Chloe, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she did marry that dentist. Good for her, I guess. I hope she's happy. I hope he never has to wonder if she's sleeping with his brother. I hope their relationship is everything ours wasn't. I'm still navigating the fallout from this, but I've found my peace. What's your take on forgiveness when betrayal cuts this deep? Have you ever had to choose between family and your own well-being? Share your thoughts below, I'm reading every comment.